Welcome back to my Angular course. Today I'm going to see if we can create a component, and I'm going to have you create your own Hello World component app in this tutorial. I'm going to try and keep it under 15 minutes. The first thing we want to do is we actually want to open up a command window. And in this window we're going to create a directory here. And I suggest that if you are going to build your app or apps, you pick a directory where you know you're going to store your Angular projects. So in this particular case, I am going to store my Angular project under users Alex, and then I'm going to create one more directory. So if you see my screen, I've created a directory called Angular projects, and I'm going to now cd into that directory. So now I have my Angular projects directory, which is going to be my root of where all my apps are going to lie. Now I'm going to create a new workspace and initial Angular app. So we're going to use the ng command. And once I create that, I'm going to have you focus on a couple parts when you're first starting out, so you know where you are, because you're going to see a lot of files, and that could be a little intimidating. So let me do ng new, and we'll call this hello world. I'll do hello dash world. So give it a minute so that it brings everything down. Now it's going to ask you if you want to add Angular routing. We do want to add Angular routing, so you want to say yes. And we want to keep our style sheet format at CSS, so that's just leave it there. If I want to change it, I can just move up and down, but I want to leave it at CSS. It should take a minute to just bring everything down. I'm going to pause the video and then I'll come back. Okay, we're back, and so everything was successfully installed. If you scroll up, you should see just warnings. Warnings are fine. And now we're going to open this project. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to go into here, because I just want to be able to get into my directory. Hello world. And then I'm going to start up my Angular site. So ng serve. And again, I covered this on the previous video. So you go to localhost 4200. And this is the template that you get by default. Now what I want to do is I actually want to replace this page with my own page. And that's what I'm going to teach you in this video. I'm going to create my own page called Hello World, and we're just going to type in some HTML, but we want to load that one instead of having to load this one. And I'm going to show you the key parts on where to do this. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to open up Visual Studio Code. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so once you open up Visual Studio Code, we're going to open up the folder for our workspace. So I put them in my directory, users, Alex, and we're going to go to Angular projects and my hello world, which is what I created here. Once you do that, you select the folder, and that should open up your project. The first directory the first file I want you to look at is actually index.html. So what we're doing here is we're writing single page apps. And for single page app, your main HTML page would be index.html. That's it. You're not adding any more pages. You're not going to be adding any HTMLs at the root. This will be your main single page where you will put your components. This particular selection tag is a tag that is loaded at boot up. It gets bootstrapped, then the corresponding HTML with this tag will get loaded. So let me show you where everything links. So we are looking at in this index.html. This is the page that is actually going to load. So if we take a look at this page, this is your index.html. Now, you don't see this HTML inside there because the actual app root component is where your inline HTML is loaded. So if we go back and look under app, and the next so the first part is look at index.html. Next part is look at app-module.ts, which is your ng module. This is similar to a linker of sorts that where you import and centralize all your components and any declarations that you're going to have or any type of third-party components that you're going to import. So this unites everything for your app. As you start writing more components, they will all go here and they will be declared within ng module. If you notice here, my app component is the one that has been bootstrapped. This, if we look at the definition, we are taking a look at app.component, which is also in my root. Let's take a look at that. And you see the title that says Hello World. We have a class name. So every component is going to have a corresponding class name attached to it. And most components will have a selector name. So if you recognize this app root, you were paying attention. This selector is what we're seeing over here, which is my app root. And if we go back, the corresponding HTML and the CSS is also at my root. And now this is where the HTML that you're seeing when you load the page is. This is the HTML. So Turo Hero, CLI documentation, Angular blog. You see that over here. And the CSS is also here, but there's really nothing here. If you're creating a component and you want to override some of the style sheets, then this is the place to put it. So each component will have its own corresponding HTML and its own CSS. And the linking and all the centralization comes over here in the app module.ts. The app component is the component that I can replace. So we're actually going to do that. We're going to create a new component called Hello World, and we are going to load that and bootstrap that first. So this bootstrap array means that this is what's actually loaded when we load our app in the beginning. And then our declaration, we're going to declare a component here, and then we're going to have to import our new component. So let's do that. We're going to create a Hello World component, and we're going to attach all the things that we need to attach, create a selector for it, and then import it to our app module. And then lastly, we'll have to edit it under index.html. So what I need you to do is I want you to right click, say new file, and we can say hello.world component.ts. now that we have our hello world component.ts, we can probably take this, copy it, and we're gonna, first of all, this is gonna be called, our selector is gonna be called hello world. We can create, well, this, we can create a class name, we'll call it hello world. The title will be hello world, and our component name will be hello world.html. Hello world dot component, just make it .html. You know, naming conventions, we can worry about that later as we get more advanced. Right now we just want to get a feel for creating a component and then having it load. So we have that. Okay. And now we're going to take this name. I'm going to copy this. And then we are going to add an HTML file for this. So we're going to go to new file, take that .html, and we can create a B and say hello world. Welcome to my first Angular app. That's a bold tag. And then we're gonna take our, sorry, it's long one. We're gonna take our .css, so we'll do that as well. New file, hello world .css. Leave that blank. Okay, so we'll leave that blank. We have that. We have everything linked up. And the last thing is to import this to our app module. So once we create our component, we gotta link it up to be central to our centralized location of our components. So here, so think of this as a component, some sort of factory where we're just kind of uniting it for our overall app. So we'll call this hello world. We're gonna have to copy the usually what I do is copy the class name. So I'll say hello. Well, this should be actually hello world component. Okay. We'll go here, and then we'll say we want to import it from hello world component. Okay. And now we know the location of our component. We want to declare it here, right? So hello world comes from this, right, which we've imported it. That's a declaration. And now we're going to actually swap this out and say that this is a hello world. Oop. Hello world should be HALLO. So this goes that way, and then this goes that way. And then our component will do that. Okay, and then our title is our title. I believe that we can use that. We're going to copy this actually. Let's take this from our app component and put it in here. We're not gonna take the Angular logo. Now this is called an expression, and we're gonna learn about that in the weeks to come. So this will be replaced by this variable here as we load. And then now the last thing left to do is in our index.html, we're not going to do app root. We're going to use our new selector that we created. Now, do you remember the name? What's the name of the selector? I'll give you 2 seconds. Oh, we're at 15 minutes already. So I'm going to hurry up. So the selector name would be whatever is in here. Okay, so that's our selector of our component. So we do hello world, just loading. So let's take a look at how that worked out. Let's get out of here. So bring up the window. We're gonna ng serve this again. Should compile. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so once we make our updates, then what I did is I restarted. You may get this error here. I restarted the Angular project, the server. I said terminate batch job, and then I just restarted and it compiled successfully. So now we have what we originally wrote, which is hello world, welcome to my first Angular app. We have welcome to hello world. Hello world is actually the binded expression that I defined under the component itself. So this is a title. And if we look, we have welcome to hello world. So if I change this, actually, I'm going to change this to welcome to my first ever Angular app, boy. We're going to save this. We're going to save all. Okay. This should compile. So this will automatically update, hopefully. Okay, so we got to recompile this. Let me get out of this. We'll say yes. We do ng serve. Let's see what happens. I'm going to pause the video for a second. Okay, so now see how it said my first ever Angular app. Boy, I think I was looking at the wrong place. So I think this actually changed automatically. So my first ever Angular app, boy, and that's what I have here. Now, the one thing that to keep in mind is I did rename my file. So under the component, I made it hello world.component.ts, and I named the class hello world component. Then by doing that, I went to the app ng module. I changed this to import from hello world.component. Notice how I exclude the ts. Oops. We always exclude the ts when we import. Hello world component, and now I'm bootstrapping hello world component, which in turn is the name of my exported class, hello world component. I did tinker with it a little bit. And then the selector name stayed the same, hello-world. So if we go over here, we have hello-world, the loading, and that is what we have over here. I think I try and keep it under 15, but I went 3 minutes over. Next video, I will talk about routing. Routing is a way for you to swap and navigate through pages. Okay, we're going to use the routing module that will allow us to create routes for our application. And we're going to populate this routes array with different routes, and you'll see how you can go from one link to another, and you could have friendly URLs within your Angular app. Again, thanks for looking at my video. I hope we continue this relationship, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Again, I try to keep it under 15, went 3 minutes over. If you have a chance, please subscribe to my video. I'm always going to try and keep it ads free. Thank you very much. See you on the next video.